Well, the energy company Ovintiv, based out of Denver, has agreed to acquire the Canadian-based Nuvista Energy. Ovintiv was once a Canadian company and then moved its headquarters to Denver. Here to talk more about this merger and what it means is Julian Klymochko, CEO of Accelerate Financial Technologies. Julian, thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Roger. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Your reaction to this deal?
Well, it's an interesting one and continues a busy time for the oil patch with respect to mergers and acquisitions. As you indicated, Roger, Ovintiv, formerly known as Encana, used to be Canada's consummate energy company, marking a return to Canada perhaps after moving its headquarters and the majority of its assets to the United States. They're coming back to Canada with $3.8 billion acquisition of Nuvista Energy. What's notable about this transaction is the fairly slim 6.6% premium. The deal comes in at $18 per share, half shares, half cash. And I expect some grumbling from shareholders on that skinny 6.6% premium because historically, oil patch M&A has done around 42% premium. We recently saw a transaction just last week for Kiwetinohk Energy from Signet Energy, an acquisition for $1.4 billion at a 62.8% premium. So a bit of a skinny price. That said, Nuvista seems to be well shopped. They ran a sale process over the past 3 months, and it looks like the Ovintiv bid is the best one that they got.
And could that grumbling, could that derail it or could it change it at all?
I think it's unlikely because Ovintiv does have a 9.6% toehold, which goes a very long way in the upcoming shareholder vote set for the next quarter. That said, Nuvista was shopped. It appears that they ran a fairly fulsome strategic alternative process. And if this is the best they can get in that process, then it is what it is for shareholders.
And just
leave it.
And just to clarify, did you say that are they moving back up to Canada or are they going to be bringing the headquarters down to Denver?
They will remain a U.S. company. However, it appears that their opinion on investing in Canada has perhaps reversed in that Nuvista's assets are in Canada, Western Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So it just marks a difference or a transition in investment plans for the previously U.S.-focused Ovintiv.
Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, perhaps it has something to do with recent changes, federal government, new budget, and price differentials. Obviously, more infrastructure in Canada. So I think the investment environment for Canadian energy has improved. In addition, the economics just work. And at the end of the day, capital goes to where it's welcome.
And do you think we'll see more American companies eyeing north?
That's a really good question. They really took off over the past decade, as most international energy companies have. But these things are cyclical, right? And as the federal and provincial governments make Canada hopefully more attractive, we do see a return of American investment into the Canadian oil patch, which used to be very significant. And hopefully we can see that once again.
And can you see any concerns with Ottawa on this when we talk about our energy independence and separating ourselves from the U.S.? Can you see Ottawa having any concerns?
Now, at the end of the day, this is a fairly safe deal with respect to Investment Canada regulations. This is not critical minerals, oil and gas deals. You know, they're basically a dime a dozen. It's not strategic from a mineral perspective. Canada has lots of oil and gas and certainly welcoming of investment, because at the end of the day, this is a $3.8 billion investment in Canada from a U.S. corporation. So I think that's attractive for the country.
And just one last quick question. Your thoughts on what was in the budget when it comes to oil and gas? We got a little less than a minute. So,
well, it's very positive to perhaps see signals of the end of the emissions cap, also known as the oil and gas production cap, which goes a long way to make Albertans happy and energy companies happy, because Currently, the energy industry still is a primary driver of the Canadian economy, and the U.S. under Donald Trump is really ramping up investment. So
Okay.
we really face no choice but to follow suit and try to compete on a global stage. And the first step is to removing that
All right.
emissions cap.
I got to end you there, Julian. Thanks for joining us, though.
Thanks for having me, Roger.
Julian Klymochko is CEO of Accelerate Financial Technologies.